The ballroom glowed like a glass lantern. Fairy lights hung from the ceiling, soft and warm. Nora stood by the cake table and watched the room move. Laughter. Clinking glasses. The band tuning a slow song. She told herself to breathe. This was her son's wedding day. She wanted to feel only joy. Ethan looked happy and tired, the way grooms look when everyone needs a piece of them. He kept checking on people, his coach from high school, his boss, the aunt who cried at everything. That was Ethan. He made sure others felt okay, even when he was not. The bride, Lila, gleamed in silk. She floated from group to group like she owned the light. When she reached Nora, she gave a smile that was pretty but sharp. Then she leaned in close, voice sweet and low. "Make it cash, please," Lila whispered. "Don't embarrass us with some old people paperwork." 2 bridesmaids heard and giggled. One covered her mouth like she knew she should not laugh, but did anyway. Nora felt heat rise in her face. She thought of the little house she had fixed for the couple. Fresh paint. New stove. She had pictured Ethan and Lila having breakfast there, windows open, music playing. She had imagined her son safe. Loved. Nora looked past Lila to the maid of honor. Cassie stood by the window, adjusting a lopsided flower arrangement so it would not fall. Cassie had sent a thank you note the week before. She had once needed help and had paid Nora back month by month, with effort and pride. Nora had kept the note in a drawer, and the words had steadied her. The MC tapped the mic. "Parents' toasts," he called. The room began to settle. The band quieted. A server carried more champagne to the head table. Ethan caught Nora's eye and smiled. He trusted her. He always had. Nora walked to the center with her glass. Her banker, a calm man in a gray suit, stood near the band just like they had planned. He gave a small nod. Nora could feel everyone waiting for something soft and sweet. A story about little Ethan. A joke about wedding cake. Simple, safe things. She felt the whisper again in her ear. "Make it cash, don't embarrass us." And her stomach twisted. Not from anger. From clarity. Lila did not want a home. Lila wanted a number. Nora lifted her glass. "To my son and his bride," she began, voice steady. "To the way love changes us. To the way it shows us who we are and who we can be." The room leaned in. Lila's smile returned, bright and fixed. Ethan watched his mother with his whole face, the way children do when they hope and fear at the same time. "You're right," Nora said, turning to Lila. "No cash." A ripple of surprise. A small laugh from someone who thought this was a joke. Nora nodded to the banker. "Please transfer the deed." Gasps. The clink of a fork dropped to a plate. The photographer lifted his camera, then hesitated, unsure. "To Cassandra Reed," Nora said, turning toward the maid of honor. "The only person here who ever borrowed from me and paid me back without being asked." Cassie's eyes widened. She shook her head hard. "Mrs. Alvarez, I can't." "You already did," Nora said. "You paid attention to what you owed. This is me paying attention, too." Silence spread like a hush before a storm. On the far side of the room, a child asked too loudly, "Mom, what's a deed?" And somebody shushed him. The bandleader glanced at his set list, then at Nora, not sure whether to play. Lila's face changed. The sweet curve dropped. Her jaw set. Her voice rose, sharp enough to cut. "You stole my house." Several people flinched. A bridesmaid whispered, "Oh my God." Another began to record with her phone until the best man lowered it with a warning look. Nora did not raise her voice. "I offered a home to people who honor a home," she said. "I am not a wallet. I am a mother." Ethan stood, halfway between the head table and his mother, as if pulled by 2 ropes. His mouth opened, closed. He looked at Lila for help, for a smile, for anything kind. He did not find it. Lila stepped forward. "Everyone here heard you promise us that house," she snapped. "You waited until the party to humiliate me." Nora met her eyes. "I waited until I knew who I was dealing with." A server tried to move the champagne away from the edge. Someone coughed. The sound felt too loud. Cassie took a step toward Nora, hands up, as if approaching a frightened animal. "Mrs. Alvarez," she said softly. "Please, I appreciate your kindness, but I can't. This will cause trouble." Nora turned to Cassie. Her voice softened. "Some people keep what isn't theirs. Some people return what they owe. I want the deed in the hands of someone who knows the difference." The banker cleared his throat, gentle and businesslike. "The transfer will be recorded tonight," he said, almost apologetic to the room. "Per the owner's instruction." The MC tried to rescue the moment. "Let's give a warm," he started, but the words died. The mood had shifted too far. You cannot throw a soft blanket over a fire that has already taken the curtains. Ethan moved to Lila. Let's step outside, he whispered. He placed a careful hand on her elbow, a habit of kindness. She shook him off, then allowed him to guide her to a side room where the cake knives gleamed like small swords. Their voices carried, muffled and tense. Nora stood alone for a beat and set her glass down. Her hand shook now that the choice was behind her. The band began to play something slow and light, the kind of song you use when you want people to sway and forget. But nobody swayed. People stared at Nora the way crowds stare at an open window during a storm, waiting to see if the glass will break. Across the room, Cassie wiped her eyes. She wasn't smiling. She looked steady and a little scared and very awake. She walked to Nora, not caring who watched, and said in a small voice, "Thank you for believing I could be trusted." Nora nodded. "Thank you for showing me." A few guests drifted toward the bar, speaking in low voices. Others pretended to hunt for their seats. The cameras came back up and then went down again. Nobody was sure which story this was, and nobody wanted to be on the wrong side of it. Nora stayed calm on the outside. Inside, memories flickered. Ethan's first day of school, his father's tired smile the year the store almost closed, the afternoon Cassie had asked to borrow money with tears she tried to hide. She had not come here to make a scene. She had come here to protect a future. Lila's voice cut through the music from the side room. "You let her do this to me?" she shouted. "You let her take what is mine?" The door swung open. Lila's eyes were bright and cold. She pointed at Nora like she was pointing at a thief. "We are not done." Nora did not flinch. "We are not," she said. "We are only beginning." The band kept playing. The lights kept shining. But the party was over in the way that matters. People will still dance after a truth like that, but they dance with new eyes. And somewhere inside the music, something thin and important had snapped. Morning came too bright for a house that had slept in worry. Nora woke before her alarm. The dress from last night hung over a chair like a tired guest. She made coffee with slow hands. The kettle hissed. The old wall clock clicked each second like a nail being tapped, gentle but firm. Her phone was a black stone on the table. No messages from Ethan. No apology from Lila. No one knew what to say yet. That was fine. Truth is louder after silence. A car engine rolled to a stop outside. Nora looked through the curtain. A dark sedan. A man in a black suit stepped out, neat and calm, the same calm he had at their first meeting. Marcus Dale, the investigator. He held a sealed envelope the color of rain. Nora opened the door before he could knock. "I didn't call you," she said. "I know," Marcus answered. His voice was gentle. "But the timing is bad if I wait. May I come in?" She nodded and moved aside. He stood at the table and placed the envelope down with both hands, like he was setting down a sleeping child. "She won't live there long," he said. "This is why." Nora sat. For a few seconds, she only looked at the paper. Then she broke the seal and drew out a stack of documents. Names, dates, notary stamps. The smell of printer ink. The first page was a prenuptial agreement. Parties, Ethan Cole and Elena Voss. Nora blinked at the name. She read it again. Elena Voss. The same face stared up at her from a photocopied driver's license. Lila's face with a different name under it. Same eyes. Same mouth. Different truth. 8 days before the wedding, Marcus said. He pointed to a small stamp. Notarized in a different state. That's not illegal, but it can mean we wanted to be quick and quiet. Nora's thumb scraped the page. He signed this. Yes, Marcus said. He signed to protect her privacy, is my guess. It reads like it. Notice this clause. He touched a paragraph with a pen cap. Any real property gifted by the groom or the groom's family shall vest solely in the bride after 6 months of marriage. Nora read the line twice. The words were simple. The meaning was heavy. So the house, she said, voice dry. The house, Marcus said. And any other family property that might appear. There's also a penalty clause. If Ethan tells his family about the prenup before 6 months, he pays a fee. Can that be real? Nora asked. Probably not enforceable, Marcus said. Courts don't like secret contracts that control family speech. But intent matters. It shows what she wanted. Nora turned a page. There was a case summary from another state. Civil, not criminal. Elder financial abuse, alleged, she read. The date was 2 years ago. The plaintiff had filed to freeze certain accounts. The case was still open for lack of contact with the defendant. The defendant's name was Elena Voss. Nora set the packet down and stared at the table surface. The wood had a scratch from the year Ethan dropped his backpack and said he was done with algebra. She had sanded it smooth back then, but in the right light you could still see the line. "Did my son know her legal name?" she asked. Marcus sat across from her. He knew there was a dangerous ex and stalkers. She told him she used Lila Hart for safety. Nicknames aren't crimes. False identities are. She kept the law name for papers when it gave her leverage, and the soft name for life when it gave her cover. Nora pressed her fingertips to her forehead. Shame tried to crawl in. Shame for hiring a stranger to look into her son's bride. But shame is a cloud. It passes when the ground is solid. She picked up the driver's license image again. The same face, the same hair, the same woman who had smiled over cake and said, "Make it cash." "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Whatever you want to happen," Marcus said. "But if you want to protect your son, act fast. File to prevent transfer of any marital property under misrepresentation. Speak to counsel about the prenup's defects. And bring Ethan into the light. Secrets are her tool. Truth is yours." Nora poured him coffee, because manners do not vanish when storms arrive. He took it with a nod and did not drink. She didn't either. The cups steamed while the clock clicked on. She thought of last night. The sparkle lights. The sharp silence after her toast. Cassie's careful hands on the flowers. Ethan's face, hurt and confused, still trying to be kind. The word mother in her own mouth, heavy and right. She took a breath and texted Ethan, "Come home. Bring Lila. I will not scream." The typing dots did not appear. She tried again. "This is about safety, not shame. Please come." She set the phone down and waited. Waiting is a skill mothers learn when their children start crossing streets alone. Marcus stood. "Do you want me here when they arrive?" "Yes," Nora said. "But stay quiet until I tell you to speak." He nodded and walked to the window. He watched the street the way a man watches weather. Time moved slow. A neighbor walked a small dog in a sweater. A delivery truck rumbled by and shook the picture frames. The coffee cooled. Nora read the prenup again. She read the driver's license again. She looked at the case summary and whispered the plaintiff's name, a stranger who might have been her. At last her phone buzzed. "On our way," Ethan wrote. "Please don't make a scene." Nora typed, "I won't." "Bring her legal ID." There was no reply. She put the papers back in the envelope, but did not seal it. The black shape sat on the table between two cups that had stopped steaming. The room felt like a stage right before the curtain lifts, quiet and tight with breath. Nora stood and opened the front door to let the daylight in. She wanted Ethan to see a home when he walked up the path. She wanted Lila, Lena, to see a mother who would not look away. She wanted the truth to sit in the center of the room where it belonged. A car turned the corner. Nora watched it approach, her hands calm at her sides. Behind her, the envelope lay like a small, dark promise. Ahead of her, tires slowed, gravel whispered, and the future rolled to a stop. The car door clicked.
"I was wondering when you'd
Footsteps on the
finally
path.
show up."
Nora stood in her doorway with her palms open. Not a
We need to
guard,
talk.
not a friend, just a mother holding a quiet line. Ethan came up first, eyes rimmed red. Lila walked half a step behind him in big sunglasses, though the sky was gray. She did not smile. Inside, the living room smelled like coffee gone cold. The black envelope lay on the table like a small storm cloud. Marcus stood by the window, hands folded, eyes calm and steady. "Mom," Ethan said, voice careful. "Please. No yelling." "I gave my word," Nora said. "Sit." They sat. Lila stayed half-turned, as if ready to leave. She did not take off the glasses. Nora slid the envelope forward. "Lila," she said, "I need you to read your real name out loud." Lila laughed once, harsh and short. "Is this a game?" "Read it," Nora said, soft but firm. Ethan frowned. "Mom, what is this?" Marcus stepped forward only enough to set a single page in front of them. The first page of the prenup. The words were plain, black on white. Parties, Ethan Cole and Lena Voss. Ethan's mouth moved before sound came. "Elena?" Lila's cheek twitched. The sunglasses stayed on. "Lots of people use different names," she said. "Stage names. Privacy. You of all people should respect that, Ethan. With your patients, you always say." "Take the glasses off," Nora said. Lila didn't move. Marcus set another page down, a copy of the driver's license. The same face. The other name. The edges of the photo were rough where the copier had grabbed the card. Ethan stared. The room made a soft hum, as if the house itself had to breathe. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. Why didn't you just say, Elena is my legal name? Because it's not safe, Lila said at once, smooth and quick. I have a dangerous ex. He stalked me. He hurt me. I changed names to live. Are you going to punish me for surviving? Nora did not look away. Your story might be true in places, she said, and twisted where you need it. What is this clause, then? She tapped the paragraph Marcus had marked. Any real property gifted by the groom or his family shall vest solely in the bride after 6 months. Lila shrugged. Protection. If your son leaves me, I still have security. That's normal. It is not normal to hide the paper and threaten a penalty if he tells his family, Nora said. It is not normal to whisper, make it cash at your own wedding. Lila turned to Ethan, voice dropping into a sweet, bruised tone. She hates me, baby. She always has. She gave our house to your friend to humiliate me. Look at what she's doing now. Look at this trap. She hired a spy. Ethan rubbed his forehead. He looked at Marcus. Who are you? Marcus Dale, he said. Licensed private investigator. Your mother asked me to confirm basic facts. I found a prenup signed 8 days ago under the legal name Elena Voss, notarized out of state. I found a civil case in another state about financial abuse of an elder. It lists Elena Voss as the defendant. The case is active. That's all I will say unless asked by counsel. Ethan swallowed. He looked at the driver's license again. Elena, he said, quiet, like he was trying a word that didn't fit in his mouth. Why didn't you tell me about the case? Because it's a lie, Lila snapped, the sweetness gone. A bitter old man couldn't handle a divorce. He made things up. I left with nothing. Marcus lifted a second document an inch. The petition seeks return of specific assets, he said. Bank transfers. Jewelry. A wire the day before the separation. I did not bring the exhibits. Your wife knows what they are. Lila's jaw clenched. This is abuse, she said. What you're doing to me right now is abuse. Nora kept her voice low. Telling the truth is not abuse. Lila stood suddenly. The chair legs scraped. Ethan, we are leaving, she said. Right now. You can cut your umbilical cord, or I can cut it for you. Choose me or choose your mother. The words hung in the air like a knife. Ethan did not stand. He stared at the table. He stared at the ring on his finger like it might speak. Don't make me your excuse, Nora said to him. Choose the truth. Then choose what is right for you. Ethan took a long breath and finally looked at his mother, then at Lila. I love you, he told Lila. But I don't know who you are. I am your wife, she shot back. Under a name I never knew, on papers I never saw, he said, voice shaking. If your story is true, we tell it to a judge with proof. If it is not, we end this before it eats us. Lila's eyes sharpened. You're weak, she said. You always were. That's why I planned for 6 months. It was a small sentence, a slip, but it hit like a hammer. Ethan flinched as if he had been tapped awake. He pushed his chair back and stood. He did not raise his voice. We're done for now, he said. Please leave my mother's house. Lila laughed without humor. You'll crawl back, she said. Both of you. You think you can beat me with paperwork? I have friends you can't even pronounce. I'll let them play with your jobs, your credit, your... Enough, Nora said, not loud, but all the way final. Lila snatched her purse. At the door she turned, eyes like glass. You made an enemy, she told Nora. Enjoy your little victory speech. Nora did not answer. The door closed. The house exhaled. For a long minute, nobody spoke. Ethan sat again and put his face in his hands. His shoulders shook once, then went still. Nora wanted to touch his hair like when he was small, but she waited until he nodded. Then she placed her palm between his shoulders and left it there, a steady weight. I'm sorry, he said. I tried to be good. I tried to believe her. You were good, Nora said. You believed on purpose. That is not a sin. It is a risk. Good people take risks with love. Marcus set a simple list on the table. Next steps, he said. Call counsel to file for annulment based on fraud and misrepresentation. Ask for a temporary order blocking access to any accounts and property. Notify the clerk that a contract exists under an alias. Document all contact. Do not reply to threats. Ethan nodded. I'll call, he said, voice thin but clear. I'll do it now. He walked to the kitchen to find his phone. His hands shook as he dialed, but he did not stop. He spoke to a receptionist, then a lawyer. He told the truth in short, plain sentences. When he hung up, his face had lost some panic. A new thing sat there instead. Resolve. Nora poured fresh coffee. This time they drank. The cups were warm in their hands. Outside, the day had brightened in the quiet way cloudy days do. No sun, just a softer light that let you see more honestly. I don't know how to face everyone, Ethan said. The photos. The guests. The bridesmaids recording. The jokes. You face them by living, Nora said. By showing up at work. By telling your story only to people who earned it. By not hiding. He nodded. He rubbed his ring again. Do I take this off? Take it off when you're ready, Nora said. Or keep it as a lesson. It's your finger. He smiled a little at that. It was a tired smile, but it was his. Marcus finished his coffee and stood. I'll send your attorney everything I have, he said. You'll get a meeting time today. Stay where there are witnesses if she contacts you. Thank you, Ethan said. The words were small but full. After Marcus left, the house felt bigger. Quiet wrapped them, but not the empty kind. The kind you can breathe in. Ethan looked at the envelope again. I don't understand why she pushed so hard for cash, he said. She said cash was simple. Cash is easy to move and hard to trace, Nora said. Houses have doors that remember who walked through them. He nodded slowly, like a man learning a new language one word at a time. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Alone. He stared, then put the phone face down. No, he said to no one in particular. Not alone. Nora felt pride settle in her chest like a warm stone. She moved the black envelope to a drawer and shut it. Ethan watched her do it. He didn't ask where she put it. He didn't need to. Some things are safer when you simply know they are safe. They made simple food and ate it at the table that had carried last night's fear. Between bites, they talked about ordinary things on purpose. Work schedules. The dog next door. The shelf Nora still needed to fix. The world did not end. It stayed the world, a little colder around the edges, a little truer in the middle. Afternoon slid in. Papers were scanned. Names were spelled. A hearing time was suggested. The first hard steps were taken. Ethan leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. When he opened them, he looked older and more himself. Thank you for not letting love make me blind forever, he said. Nora squeezed his hand. Love isn't the problem, she said. Lies are. He nodded. Outside, a car passed. Inside, the clock ticked. The mask had fallen. The face beneath it was finally clear, and the path ahead, while narrow and steep, was honest. The sky was still gray when Cassie knocked on Nora's door.
I couldn't believe
She held a folder
my eyes.
against her chest like it might break if she breathed too
true.
hard. I need to tell you something, she said. It's important, and it's clean. I didn't break any rules. Nora stepped aside. Ethan looked up from the table. He had slept on the couch and wore the same shirt from yesterday, but his eyes were steadier. Cassie sat, palms flat. Months ago, she began, I worked a weekend shift at the clinic. A woman came in with a friend. I only saw her in the public waiting room, not as my patient. She wore a hat, but I recognized the face later when Ethan introduced Lila to me. I also heard the friend say a name, Lena. I forgot about it until I saw a court flyer online about a civil case with the name Lena Voss. The photo looked like Lila. I wasn't sure, so I kept quiet. I didn't want to accuse someone without proof, and I didn't want to break a patient's privacy, even though she wasn't my patient. Nora listened without blinking. After your toast, Cassie said, voice shaking, I went home and couldn't sleep. I found a phone number from a friend who knew a licensed investigator. I told him only this. Check the name Lena Voss connected to Lila Hart. Look for a prenup. I shared no clinic details. He said he would take it from there. Ethan turned to Nora slowly. Marcus, he said. Cassie nodded. He already had threads. My tip gave him the knot. That's how he found the prenup so fast. Nora let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She had not been wrong about Cassie. She had been exactly right. And about the house, Cassie said, eyes bright now. I accepted the deed last night because I was scared she would grab it some other way. I wanted to keep it safe until the truth came out. I'm here to sign whatever you want. I don't want to own Ethan's start. I just didn't want her to take it and run. Nora reached across the table and took her hand. You did the brave thing, she said. Not the easy thing. There is a difference. Ethan rubbed his ring. What do we do now? We make it honest, Nora said. Cassie, I'll draft a rent to own. $1 a month for as long as you need. When Ethan is clear and ready, he can buy it from you for $2. It will never be in her reach. She looked at her son. Not out of spite, out of safety. Cassie cried then, soft and messy. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't repay you years ago to get this. I did it because it was right. I know, Nora said. That's why I trust you with more. By noon, papers were ready. They signed at the kitchen table, 3 simple signatures and a witness line. No champagne. No speeches. Just pens and the quiet sound of a future being built with care. At 2 o'clock, Ethan and Nora sat in a small courtroom with dry air and tired chairs. Their attorney spoke in clear, slow words: fraud, alias, concealment, unusual clauses, pressure. The judge listened with a face that showed nothing. Marcus handed over an affidavit. The clerk stamped things. The clock above the bench ticked louder than it needed to. The doors opened. Lila walked in wearing a dark dress and that old bright smile, the one that tried to turn crowds into mirrors. For a second, Ethan looked like he might break. Then he stared at the empty space beside her and saw there was no one there but her. Her lawyer spoke first. Privacy, he said. Safety. He tried to pull every soft word into his net. But the judge kept pointing back to the papers. Legal name, he asked. Disclosure? Timing? 6-month vesting of gifted real property. Each time, the answers grew thinner. When Lila finally spoke, she aimed her voice at Ethan. You promised to protect me, she said. You said you'd never make me choose between you and your mother. Ethan did not raise his voice. I promised to protect my wife, he said. But you did not let me meet her. The judge ruled for a temporary order at once. No access to Ethan's accounts, no approach outside counsel, preserve evidence. He set a date for the annulment hearing. The prenup's penalty clause, the judge said, appears suspect and likely unenforceable. He quoted a line from the document and let it hang in the air, heavy and wrong. Lila's mouth tightened, but her eyes stayed calm, like a person already building a new plan behind the wall. She walked out without looking back. Ethan sagged. Nora held his elbow as they left the building, the way he had held Lila's in the ballroom. The roles had turned, but the love had not changed. They stopped at the house afterward, the little one with the new stove and fresh paint. Cassie was there, on the porch with a folder and a broom. She laughed when she saw them. I sweep when I'm nervous, she said. Keep sweeping, Nora smiled. Let's fill this place with clean things. They stood in the doorway together. The rooms were empty and bright. The air smelled like pine cleaner and new chances. Ethan walked to the sink and ran the water. He tapped the counter with his knuckles like he was testing the truth of the wood. I thought a home was a gift, he said. Now I think it's a promise. It's both, Nora said. And a mirror. It shows who we are when no one is watching. They signed the last page of the rent to own. $1 today. $2 one day down the road. It was silly and serious at the same time, like a joke that also saves your life. Evening came softer than morning. Nora cooked simple food and left a plate for Cassie to take home later. Ethan finally twisted his ring and set it beside the sink. He didn't throw it. He didn't hide it. He placed it where the light caught it and let it sit there like a lesson. Before leaving, Cassie turned at the door. I have one more thing to say, she whispered. Last year I wrote that thank you note because I wanted you to know your help changed my life. I didn't think we'd end up here. But if you hadn't believed me then, you wouldn't have believed me now. Nora touched her cheek. I believed you because you told the truth when it was small, she said. People who tell the truth when it is small can be trusted when it is big. After Cassie left, Ethan and Nora sat on the porch and watched the streetlights blink on. The night felt wider than the day. Crickets sang like tiny clocks that didn't care about courts or signatures. Ethan said, I am angry at myself, but I'm also proud of myself. Is that allowed? It is required, Nora answered. You turned around while the road was still paved. A light breeze stirred the leaves. Somewhere a door closed. Somewhere else a new one opened. The house behind them breathed, bare and ready. The worst parts were not beautiful, but they were honest. And honest things, given time, grow into good things. Nora looked at her son and saw the boy and the man at once. We're going to be okay, she said. He nodded. We already are.